31st at Kanengo Auctions Holdings in Lilongwe. Yeah. Welcome to this technical review of basically what we did with ECG on the 31st at Kanengo Auctions Holdings in Lilongwe. Yeah, so it's a lot to unpack, so this video might take a while, but please bear with me. Hopefully I could try to go through everything in as short a time as possible. Yeah, so basically as sound addicts, we were basically contacted to do the stage design, the lighting, and basically the screens layout and all those things. Considering that we also work with quite a number of other technical companies to achieve that, so I cannot say that everything there is done by ourselves, but everything there is pretty much coordinated by ourselves, with also some guidance from ECG members as well. Yeah, so to begin with, we came up with, we'll talk about the sound as well, because we did also install the sound at the venue on the day, and also how we got to that point as well. But yeah, to start with, I'll briefly talk about the stage layout. That's one of the big highlights as well. That's one of the big things that people are talking about as well. That came from designing on a 3D sketch, which I hope we can show in this video. That came from a 3D sketch that we came up with between members of ECG, myself, and a 3D stage designer called Sam Marcello. Yeah, so once we got that down, we started putting together the budget and the planning to see how we can execute these things and see what kind of materials are required to kind of make it look like how it looks like on the 3D stage design itself. And as we got closer to the date, other members also from ECG and also from Prophetic TV came in, gave their input on the stage, and to also adjust it in a way that makes sense for camera and for film and stuff like that. So some of the screens were moved around and some of the layouts were moved around, but 80% of what was originally done pretty much stayed the same. Yeah. That said, I think here are some highlights of what the stage ended up looking like. Yeah, so now obviously these reviews are mostly to do with sound, so that's what I'll mostly focus on again. The sound itself is owned by ECG. My task was just to set it up for the room and give the room the best sound possible. There were a number of challenges. The room is 100 meters by 110 meters. That's 2 football fields put together. That's how much space we're dealing with, and it's open space. And then there's also the issue that the height of the building is only 6 meters high. So you can't really fly sound so high and hope for the best. And at the same time, the roof was not built for sound. It's an auction, it's a tobacco auction space. So the roof rattles when anything rumbles in terms of sound, subwoofers and stuff like that. So there were those challenges to face. At the same time, the brief was, we need clean sound tops to bottom. Nobody should feel like they're sitting in a space where the sound isn't great. Right out the bat, did we achieve that? Usually the answer is no. But I feel like we got to at least 90% of the room had good sound. The other 10%, I'll explain where the weaknesses were and how we could have improved on those weaknesses. Yeah, but to begin with, that was the criteria and that was the challenge. So what we came up with is that we were going to have, oh, by the way, there was also another room that we were expecting overflow, that we needed to place sound as well there. What ended up happening was that we decided to have 16 of the 24 tops placed in the main hall, and then have the 8 remaining tops to be placed in the overflow. So at that point in time, we didn't actually install the overflow yet because we didn't know where and how many people would be in there. So we just had the gear ready, the cabling ready, the signals ready, so that when we see the chair design and the chair layout, we would install that PA as well. Yeah. So we decided to do 16 tops in the main hall. These are Crest Audio ML228. We'll label it somewhere there once I remember. But yeah, they're made in Zimbabwe, and most of the parts come from Italy. They sound really good. The design is very similar to what the L Acoustic Cara would look like, and also sounds very close. Very nice sounding box. Very nice sounding box, to be honest. Yeah, so how we installed it, again, I might be going around in circles. 16 boxes. We decided to have 4 up front. Hopefully we can have some visuals to represent that. And then also 4 40 meters away from the first line of boxes. And then we delayed the 40 meter away line array, obviously by 40 meters worth of sound delay. That was done in the processor. If I have a picture of the processor, I'll show that processor. It's also a Soundcrest processor. Yeah, the amplifiers, we were using I think the big black one that we had is a Soundcrest DS 4800. And then there were a bunch of hybrid B4000 Mark 6 amplifiers. We had quite a lot of those. I think there were probably about 13 of them. I can't really break them, about 9 of them. And then 3 of the Soundcrest DS 4800. So what we decided to do is, because the tops are 16 ohms and our tops are all 1000 watt at RMS power, the amplifier is also 4800 RMS. That's obviously both channels, but we decided to have 1 channel driving 4 tops. They're all 16 ohm tops, and this amp can go down to 2 ohms. I'm sorry, I think it can go down to 4 ohms. I need to double check those details, but I think from what I checked, it could go down to 4 ohms. Yeah, so we had 4 tops running on 1 channel and then the other 4 on the other channel. So an amplifier was driving 2 stacks of 4. So channel A was being used as the main front, and then B was being used as a delay. And then on the other side, we did the same thing. We'll show pictures of that. And then the subs are basically 4000 watts each. So what we did was we just took the B4000 in bridge mode. Each sub had an amp. We had 8 subs, 8 amplifiers. We did an end fire configuration, so it meant on each side we had 4 subs, so we had 2 in front, 2 at the back, and then you delay the front ones by 2 meters because they're placed 2 meters from the rear subs as well. So what that does is it takes sound from one location and adds the other set of 2 subs to be coming out from that same location. So you get double the punch for half the space as well. And it, from what I discovered, it throws even further down the line because you got a much bigger punch, a much stronger punch. So it was throwing further down the line, which allowed us to have sub all the way down to the end without needing to add more subs down the line, halfway, 40 meters down the line, like we did the tops. Now, I'm not a big fan of delaying subs unless they're really, really, really well designed to the point where they don't really fire anything at the back, which is next to no subs that I've ever met. People can do all kinds of techniques with subs, but I believe they will still bleed at the back. So it makes it very difficult to hear clean sound and consistent sound all across the the field when you delay your subs, from how I feel. Yeah, so what we did is we just did the N5 configuration and hope for the best to throw sound all the way down the 100 meters with those subs, which actually worked really well. So I was really pleased with that. And we had smooth subs all around the building. Yeah, so that was pretty much the layout. And then we're using the Allen and Heath SQ7 for front of house. And then 2 stage boxes. The can't remember which models these are, but I think it's the ones that the generic ones that come with the SQ7. So we're running 32 channels, 16 outputs. I think we ended up using 12 of the 16 outputs. We had about 12 monitors on stage. The stage was split into 4 divisions. So we had choir left, choir on the left, choir on the right, and band behind the choir on the right. Obviously we had a big space in the middle as our main stage, and then down we had the diamond stage where Prophet Bushiri was mostly preaching from. So that was our layout. So each one of these layouts, on the diamond stage we had 2 monitors, on the choir left were 2 monitors, on the middle stage we had 2 monitors, and then we had 6 monitors for the band and the choir on the right. So the main choir area was the choir area on the right. So that's why we had a lot more monitors on there. In terms of channel inputs, pretty much the typical channel inputs, drums, 8 mics, kick, snare, 3 toms, kick, snare, tom, overhead there, overhead left, overhead right, hi-hat. So that's 8 microphones, bass, straight DI, guitars, straight DI, keyboards, straight DI. In this particular setup, I wouldn't want to be miking things up a lot, because we don't really know what caliber of musicians are coming. All kinds of musicians are coming to use this instrument, so it's better to just go straight DI and then fix the sound yourself at front of house and have a consistent sound that way. Because obviously at the same time this is being televised, so you don't want to be fixing things or adjusting things too much while things are happening during the service itself. I must say the front of house engineer was Shaban. He's a South African engineer, but he's based in Malawi. He works with ECG. He's very good, very, very good. Every time I work with this guy, it makes my job much easier because I can focus on being the system tech designer and kind of installation guy, and then have this guy mix great mixes front of house, and we get great sounds all the time. So it just makes everybody look good, makes me look good, working with him. So always happy to work with Shaban. So I think I literally did not touch the console once the PA was up, and we were happy with how it sounds. Just minor, feedback for him from me, which is very normal for everybody. When we have a bunch of engineers working together, we always give each other feedback just to improve the sound even further. Most of the things that audience don't really hear anyway, but we do it anyway. So it was a pretty good sound, I should say, throughout. I was really happy with the results. We ended up not using the other 8 boxes because the room is just huge. 24,000 people were registered at this venue, and they managed to fit all 24,000 in the main hall. I wish I knew that was going to happen, because that would have meant that the missing locations where the 10% didn't get that extra clarity, extra clear sound. It's not that they weren't hearing it. My issue is, when the box is 110 degrees, and the audience were sat in the sides as well. So this is the PA, and in the sides, in the far sides of the PA, there are people sitting there, maybe 4 rows, 50 deep, where in these pockets where there wasn't enough treble. You could hear what's happening. You could get the whole sense of the sound and everything, but that extra clarity that comes with the treble when it's aimed at you is what I feel they didn't get. If I knew that the other 8 boxes weren't going to get used, those locations would have had those boxes facing those areas. So that would have been an automatic thing, would have just placed those boxes on top of the subs and face them to the sides so that people can hear properly on the sides. That said, there were no complaints about people not hearing sound somewhere or anything like that. So I was really happy with the results. By accident at KBG's place, I met this Zambian artist, and apparently his wife made a comment which I was really pleased to hear, that apparently usually when she sits near a PA system is usually brutal sounding and kind of hurtful sounding, and she was glad to hear clean sound and she sat near the PA system. I was really happy to hear that because Prophet Bushi also had given me that comment saying that he would like to be in a room where the sound is not hurt, but the sound's clean at the same time and everybody can hear the sound. So I feel like by hearing that kind of comment from a musician's wife and from somebody who's traveled and heard sound in all kinds of places, is encouraging to know that, you know, we managed to hit that criteria quite well. Yeah, so yeah, that was pretty much it. So we worked basically 4 days, just extra information. We worked about 4 days from the 27th down to about the 31st in the morning. I think, is that 4 days? I think that's 5 days. I don't know. Yeah, it was long hours, but it was worth it. The results, the pictures, the sound, everything came out quite good. I was really impressed with that, and generally looking forward to what we can do with ECG next year. I think we're doing it better and better every year that we work with them. I love working with them because they always challenge your capability, which is why I basically got into this industry, which is why I love what I do, is to be challenged beyond my capabilities and push further and see if we push further, what can we do and how far can we go? So I'm always looking forward to working with them because of that they challenge our capabilities and they push you beyond your limits. Yeah, so that was that. If any questions, if I missed something that you want to know about that setup, please comment below and I'll be able to respond and give you feedback on that. Yeah, either at the beginning or the end of this video, there will be some highlights that you can look at just to see how the event went. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next review.